Hello there, welcome to this special Halloween edition of me streaming live Haskell. I was going to dress up and have a special spooky edition, but then I remembered I'm old and curmudgeonly and couldn't be bothered. So just a normal thing, but maybe with some horrific Haskell to scare you instead. I'm going to pick up from last week. Oh, scary ghost in the chat. I'm going to pick up from last week where I was trying to add some functionality so that when you deposit money into an account, that's fine actually, it's withdrawing money I want to talk about. So when you withdraw money from an account, it makes sure that you have sufficient funds before it lets you do that. And it's just to stop the account from going overdrawn. And the way depositing withdrawing works is it's inside a DB transaction. So it does two things. One is it creates a ledger entry to track the fact that that deposit or withdrawal has happened, and it also updates the balance on the account. If those fail, so if it can't update the amount in the account because there's not sufficient funds, it shouldn't do either of those things. So those are wrapped in a transaction, and I updated the query for withdrawing money to say only withdraw money if the funds are available. But I didn't get it to cancel the transaction and to stop creating the ledger entry. So that's what I'm going to look at today. I'm going to start from the outside the API and work down because there's a few layers to this. The change shouldn't be too hard, I don't think, but we'll find out. But the API has got a withdraw endpoint. You give it account ID and amount of money. And it should just go and update the account for you. Oh dear, that was a bit scary, I thought. So withdraw is implemented down here, and what's it do? It gets the amount, it just flips it so it's negative that amount, and then it calls handle deposit with that. And handle deposit is quite a lot of code in here. So it's getting the account back, and eventually, hopefully, some point. It's actually calling deposit at this point. Okay, so we have an account, we got an amount, we got an account ID and an amount, and then we call deposit, which is an effect in here. So it's this thing, but that's implemented down here in this piece of code. Okay, so converting the error and lifting O are just dealing, well, the convert error I should fix at some point, but it's taking a Haskell session error and converting it to an account store error. Lift AO because all this happens in the database rather than happening in the account effect. But it's basically creating a ledger entry by generating a UID and a date for it. And it takes the amount from here and it creates a ledger entry. And then it passes that into the database layer, calls deposit. And this is where I got to last time. So it's got a transaction. It does two things. It runs the deposit statement for the account, and then it calls LedgerDB effect, or it calls LedgerDB directly actually to add the ledger entry as well. And the idea is that if this fails, then this doesn't happen, and vice versa. If this fails, then that will get rolled back. The trouble I have now is I updated the deposit statement and I added this conditional to it. So I said, if the balance plus the amount you're trying to put into it, which is a type big int, is more than 0, then it will succeed. But if it's less than 0, so that'll be the case where this is negative and is bigger than the balance, that would take it to less than 0. Interestingly, that should be equals, because you could end up with 0 money in your account, that's fine. But anyway, if that ends up being less than 0, then this would fail and no row would be returned. So I've told it to return the number of rows affected. So my thinking is if this is 0 rows affected, then we shouldn't do the insertion because nothing got updated. We shouldn't create a ledger entry because the balance has not been updated. I previously relied on the fact that this was a monoid. So I had two statements and they were both returning unit. So this will break because it doesn't return unit. I thought to return rows affected. But I could join them together because both of these, this deposit statement and this create statement, are both statements that return nothing. And I change this to be a uint64. Is that what it was? Uint64, let me just undo it. It'll be in history. Yes, there we go. Int64, not uint64, take it back. The type of this is now different from the type of this, so I can't just join together like that. So I was thinking, how do I join statements together inside a transaction so that if one fails, or one fails to update in this case, then we can do the rollback. I think I know how to do that, but let's see if it works. The short answer to this, how to do it, is I'm not going to rely on them being monoids. I'm going to rely on them being monads, or maybe applicatives actually is probably more important, but I'm going to wrap them in a do so it's easy to see what's going on. So let me just say something like deposit transaction. And what's that going to need? It'll need, doesn't need the connection, doesn't run it, but it needs the account ID and the ledger entry, I guess, because that's the other thing that's available to it. Like so. And then I'm just going to comment these lines out. And all of that, so I can ask it to create this for me. There we go. So we now know that we're going to take, let's import that. So it shuts up for a second. Oh, it is takes that transaction is fine. Okay, we're going to take the account ID, we're going to take the ledger entry, and we are going to return a transaction. So here I can say account ID and ledger entry. And I can say do. Because the cute thing I can do here is I can say rows affected. Let's call it that. And then I'll grab this statement and I'll run it as a transaction and get the result back. And then I can say if rows affected is equal to 0, let's say it's greater than, say it's equal to 1, I'll treat that as a success case. So if one row is affected, which is what I expect, although I could just say greater than 0, it'd be the same thing, because it should either be 0 or 1 in my example. So if it's non-zero, what are we doing then? So if it's non-zero, then it's the happy case. And we can just run this statement. Otherwise, I can tell it to abort at this point, right? Because we've not updated the balance in the account table, so we shouldn't continue with the transaction. We shouldn't create the statement. If I can find a window, this window. In Haskell transaction, there is condemn, which is transaction unit, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So I should be able to say tx.condemn. So that's my thinking of how to solve this. Right, so we try and put something in. If we run the first statement, right, so we try and update the balance. If we did update the balance, then we continue with another statement to create the ledger entry. But if we didn't manage to do it, we're just going to roll back. Now, we haven't done anything, so condemn shouldn't actually have any effect at this point because nothing would have been updated. But it'll still cancel the transaction and it won't continue with the next thing. So there we go. I think that might be the answer. How do I test it? I guess actually writing a test would be quite a good thing for that. So do we have anything which, so balance spec, I think is calling this deposit. Let's find out. That's withdrawal. Let me find an actual test. That's getting a DB connection. These are all helpers. This is a helper as well. This is a helper. This is a helper. Do you have an actual code? Okay, withdrawing money. This account balance, and this is calling. It calls deposit, and deposit calls. And just returns the deposit. Is that right? Oh no, sorry, it actually does the deposit here. So this is the function I was looking at. Okay, cool. So calling deposit and withdraw should be running in that running that code I just wrote. So we got a test here. It says updates account balance and it creates ledger entry. So I'll make sure those still work. And if they do, I'll add another test case, which is saying if you overdrawn, then it shouldn't update the balance. I should have written the test first actually, because that would give me more confidence. But anyway, it's too late now. So cabal test. It's not following the output. Good. Doesn't work. IO exception of type user error. Okay. So depositing money updates the account balance. Does not work. I don't know if it doesn't work because the change I made or it never worked. So let's have a look at this. So we call deposit with the connection. Oh, actually the whole error, I suspect, is that it can't connect to the database. Let me bring up another window, rename the terminal to be test, because then I can source the right thing. Okay, this one should now connect to the test database. That wasn't the most helpful error message. Now most of them passed, but one still failed for some reason. So all migration run creates a ledger entry. Oh no, sorry, this is balance. Creates a ledger entry. This all migration run is just noise that's coming out of the test running. So depositing money updates account balance creates ledger entry. Withdrawing money updates creates ledger entry. Okay, now it's possible this is failing because it's going overdrawn. In which case it'll be triggering new behavior, but it also might not. Yeah, the amount should be -10. So it's not allowed to be -10. I don't know why I've got two tests for this. I kind of feel like withdrawing the money, that should be there. There, can I add that? Anything? Okay. I can't do this in the scribe, but I feel like this should be the thing, and then two different assertions underneath it. Match type IO, what is the type here? with specm. Can I lift IO that, just out of curiosity? Nope. Okay, let me come back to that. Let me fix the test and then come back to it. So I'll do the same thing down here, where I deposit £50, 50 things, $50, whatever. Then I withdraw 10. The ledger entry should be -10, but the balance will be 40. I would really like to test this together. So we just go back to the test and run it again. This should not pass. Okay, and we conveniently found that it does not allow the account to go overdrawn. Oh, these are all a function that gets a connection in the account. See, that would make it even harder to pull this out to a central thing. Okay, so it doesn't allow the account to go overdrawn, and here I want to just, here I can just do this thing, except that withdraw will check that it's successful. No definition found for withdraw. So this is where we're saying the result should be successful. So what I might need to do is just do my own version of this code. And now I'm lost in my file up here. Okay, this is the test I was writing. So, indent it properly. So we're going to get random ID, we're going to get current time. Don't know why I'm using this helper, because presumably this helper doesn't do very much interesting. Now, if I called account ID instead, is that right? Because we're calling create account, which returns a whole account. Okay. Because here I could say something like let account ID is act.account ID, did I call it, or did I just call it ID? Because calling ID would be a bit stupid. I may have done that. Okay, so we got this. We have the ledger ID and current time. One thing is I can basically do what I do here. Where's my ledger entry? It's passed into deposit. I'll get passed in from the outside as well. So this would have been in the account store. Here. So UUID, amount, date, time, and account ID. So back to test. If I just call this UUID, this is called date time for some reason. And amount is the thing we need. So amount is equal to, in this case, -10. And now, instead of saying all this nonsense, I can say, I just need to let down a bit, then I can group it together. So we've got UID, we've got date time, we've got count ID and amount, And now we want ledger entry is ledger entry and then that, I think. Okay. So now we have a ledger entry. We can try running the deposit. It's not account ID, it's account.uid. That makes a little more sense. We try running it, and now we can check and see whether or not it failed. So we can say something like deposit res should be, get rid of that line now, and it should be left of something. I'm not quite sure what this something is. It should be session error. But that's not a constructor for session error. Or is it? I don't think it is. So session error is from Haskell, I think. Let me just bring it Google up. And here I can ask it for session error. And its constructors are query error, pipeline error. So I think it's a query error. And then I'm hoping I don't need to specify the whole lot. Query error underscore underscore underscore. Have I imported Haskell already? Yes, it's called session. Where is that? There we go. Session.that. I need to fill these in, don't I? So some byte string, I don't know what it's going to be. And then this is a list of texts. So let me just make it empty. And this is session.command error, which is the error details, which could be something like result error and something like unexpected result, unexpected amount of rows. This feels so awkward. Okay, so before I got to there, it was result error. And then unexpected amount of rows. Amount of rows. And then 0, I think. So these should both be session. Okay. A little bit long. Okay, so in this test, I am trying to deposit something, I get a result back, and then I expected this to happen. The only bit I really care about is that it's left. Maybe query error, maybe not. I don't want to have to specify all these things directly. Result error, unexpected amount of rows, probably a reasonable thing to check for. But I don't want everything else. It sounds like a something where lenders would be quite useful, I think, to rip this data out of a nested structure, but I would have to learn how to use lenders, which is maybe not quite the right time to do that. on failure. Okay, does not allow the account to go overdrawn. Expected a query error, we got right. That's really not what I expected. So we've got a ledger entry, which is -10, and then we try and deposit it. And to do that, we run this statement. Oops. This statement, the deposit statement, which takes the amount out of the ledger entry, and it takes account ID, and it does that check. So in theory, as long as this is a clean account, it should try and withdraw 10 units of money from an account with 0 units of money in it, right? Because to do this, we create a connection, we get the connection, we create an account, and we start it off with 0. So in theory, if I take an account, this account, and I try and deposit -10 units of money in it, it ought to give me an error. And in fact, when I had this one, I think it did give me an error. So we got a clean account, we withdraw 10, and it failed. Or maybe it didn't fail. Maybe I assumed, because I assumed the test failure was this line. But actually, maybe it's not. Maybe it is, maybe it's this line. Let's try and find out. So pattern match doesn't work, and it's line 58, which is in fact this line. Okay, so the withdrawal works. Maybe this makes sense. Actually, maybe rolling back is not an error. So maybe what I actually, that's annoying. So I think what's happening here is this condemn is causing the transaction to roll back, hopefully. But then it's just returning an empty transaction. It's not returning any kind of error. So when I call run, it's all fine. How do I detect that it has failed because the account's gone overdrawn? Like, how do I return that? Because really, this is the point where I know it's overdrawn. I could throw something here. I could use a proper exception, but I've been trying to avoid that and use either for the error cases. I'm trying to think, like, could I return something else here? I don't know that I could. What does condemn look like? Condemn. Transaction put false. What is transaction? It's state T. And bool, I guess, is indicating whether or not it should actually run. So this is saying what's params and statement? B is the other statement module, right? Or the session module, okay. So it's saying create a statement but lift it into transaction. Okay, and there's another. I think, is there sessions? Yeah, there's a sessions here. So execute transaction. Use a.run. So transaction private transaction. Okay, I don't know what it looks like. Okay, so I don't think condemn. I don't think I can do an equivalent condemn, which actually so a version of condemn which returns an error as well. And this is just a transaction, it's not running it. This is where it's actually getting run. I mean, could I do something like transaction bool? And here say run this and then do not do pure false or pure true or something like that. Maybe it could actually. Maybe not. And then this would be condemn and then pure false. And then this would be result is run it. And then what's the type of result? It's either session error or bool. And then we want to say case result of, and then we got left some error, and then that's going to be pure of left of error, and then it's right of some bool. So we can say if it's right of true, then that would be something. So we would successfully run it, and right of false would be we've rolled back. But I don't really want to use a bool here. We could actually use, I don't want another either. This is the only thing. So I could get this to return either nothing or some error. But then you're going to get IO of either session error. No, either a session error or either couldn't insert an error or unit. That'd be a horrible data type. Okay, so right true is pure right of unit, and false is going to be It's not true, it's pure. This would be pure of left of some kind of new error. Session error, not my error, it's Haskell session error. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, so let's do the silly thing. Oh no, I don't have it. I don't have their error. I don't want to construct some stupidly long thing. Either maybe, yeah, I wondered about, but maybe what? It's going to be maybe something. I don't know what something should be. Perhaps I could say something like data so I could use maybe. I could say new type. What's this going to be? An insert error or a overdrawn error? Insufficient funds error. Actually, I'll make that data because there's no value there. And then this can be maybe an insufficient funds error. I probably need a constructor for this. Okay, and then this would be nothing, and this would be just insufficient funds. Insufficient funds. To be louder than that. Okay, and then back here, so if it's I might flip these around a bit. So if it is right of what was I going to say? If it's right of just insufficient funds, then we need to work out some kind of error to return. If it's right of nothing, then that very clearly communicates that the insert was successful. Okay, so now actually, maybe this is what you meant when you said either maybe. Maybe this should be the maybe. Maybe that. Okay. So then I can just return that. Okay, and then I can export this. Can I? No, it's not going to let me do that. No collections available. Okay. I feel like I should be able to export it, but anyway, I'll have to type it. It's terrible. Insufficient funds error. Okay, back to test. So now down here, it's not going to be left of that thing, it's going to be right. It should be right of just insufficient funds. Error. No, I need to export the constructors as well. Okay, and then this one I will deposit the money again so that it works. But these are all going to fail now because it's no longer going to be right of unit. This should now be right of nothing. Not there. The deposit helper. Here, this should be right of nothing. Okay, I'm not. It's not a great type, I don't think, but it does the job. Hopefully, we'll see if it does the job. What I'm really thinking is I should replace this with either. It's either a session error, which is the Haskell stuff, but now I'm adding my own errors into that. I wonder if I should make that error richer, but then it'd be harder to work with. Let me just check the other things here. So this should be right of nothing. This is a withdraw, is that right? Yep. Show me the error here. No instance for that. So I need to derive. Where is the type? Why is it random in a file? Deriving stock. We'll put show and equal. Okay, one more error. Okay, this convert error is a bit nasty now. This is to do with nested errors a little bit. So this was me trying to lift. I think am I trying to go from session error? This is my session error now, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so right of nothing is pure unit. Nope. Oh goodness. So now this is either A or maybe B. And then the other case we have is right of just insufficient funds. This convert error is no longer generic. And it's used in other, is it used in other places? It is not. So it doesn't need to be a generic thing then. This is either, oh, what's the type of this? So I'm going to go with this and comment these out for a second. Okay, this is the type of it. The explicit type. Has it got anything? It does not. Okay. So this of left of error, can it fill that one in? No. If this was Idris, it would have filled it in for me. So this is now converting it to session error. And then we can just do these cases, hopefully. So now it's going to be just in insufficient funds. And that's going to be left of, and now I can add another error. It's become data. and it's either session error or it's insufficient funds error. So it's the other insufficient funds. Okay, now we're going to fix this up. So insufficient funds. I might just do this. Oops. Try again. So db.accounts qualified as accounts DB. This needs to be insufficient funds. This is going to be accounts DB. Oh, I already had it as account DB. That's annoying. Okay. So is that or insufficient funds? No, not that. That. Okay, so let me just do this way around. So if it's right of nothing, then we just return nothing. If it's left an error, we convert it to session error. If it's right of just insufficient funds, I'm going to put them back in that order, then we error. Okay, and then we should have an unused import somewhere. Yeah, that one. Okay, back to the test. Oh, so an error. The error is in somewhere. Balance spec. I forgot to save file, obviously. Okay, there we go, huzzah. So we have a test that fails if you try and withdraw money, and it would take you withdrawn, and the thing we're actually looking for is that. So it's right of just accounts to be insufficient funds. Not overly happy with this either maybe, and the maybe is used to send back an error. But it does have the advantage of working. Does it really work? I'll run. Then add some curl commands, I think, to deposit money. Oops. Can't copy and paste. Bad mouse skills. I'm hoping this one is fresh. There we go, there's nothing in it. So if I try and withdraw, that should not work. I don't know what it returns to me. There we go, I'm trying to withdraw 500, but I need to withdraw it from the right account. Is that the right account? F9DC, it is. There we go. Okay, insufficient funds. So it returns with a 500 internal server error, insufficient funds. Not amazing, but it's the right answer. It's just not sent in a very nice way. It should be something like 429, is it? Can't remember. Something that specifies that what you're trying to do is not valid. If I deposit 500, oh, recompile with threaded to work around this. So let's do the day. Okay, just gonna, I'm not gonna do this quite yet. So I'm gonna deposit 500, and then I'm gonna withdraw 400, and that should work. Then I'm gonna try and withdraw, okay, I've done 400 again, but I'll try and draw 150. That's correct, okay. And if we go here and reload it, you see the balance is 100, we deposit 500 and withdraw on 400. Okay, so it does work. I'm not happy about this being a 500 error. Also just a literal string insufficient funds dumped into the body of a response. But that's all right, we can fix that. And then I'm not happy about the type. I really think this should be left of insufficient funds. So let me go back to the API for a second. What are we saying here? So here we're saying get account. And this is this code. So this db get is returning is not found, which I think oops. Go back again. This, okay, this is where I had the nastiness. So I wonder if instead of returning a session error and then having, so this is the effect, it shouldn't necessarily need to know too much about how AccountDB works internally, but I think maybe instead of returning a session error, I can return my own error here. So we get something like account error, AccountDB error, and that could be a session error. We'll just wrap the underlying Haskell session error, or it could be an not found error. So we'll pull out and disambiguate that thing, or we can have a insufficient funds error. Like that, I think. Deriving stock show an equal. Okay. So now I can change this. Instead of returning a session error, I'm going to get rid of that. It's going to be my AccountDB error. Just find out what the error is here. Multiple declarations. Okay, that's good. Ish. Okay, I've broken a lot of stuff. I need to come back and fix it all. It's going to take a little while. Okay, AccountDB error. I need to fix them all now. That one's kind of okay. So these should now be AccountDB error. Okay, and then I'm going to just change this back to be unit. And this one is going to be transaction of either an account DB error, I might just rename this to be error, or unit. Okay, there'll be one more name error to fix. Okay, this is going to be session.session error. This is still the Haskell one. And then we don't, not going to export that, we're going to export account DB error. Right. Okay, and then now I've got 11 errors, which is probably where I want to be. So what will happen here? So we want to take a couple of things, right? So let's just say the result is running it. And then we want to say case result of, and if it's left of error, then that's going to be pure because of IO of left because of either, and then session error of the error. So this is going to be session error. What was it called? It's called session. Okay, so if we get an error back, it's that, but it might not be. I'm going to rename this to be session error. Okay, it might not be because if we go back to here, we have this is not found. So let me just dump that in here. Haskell session is just session. This is just session. This is just session. It would be easier if I renamed them properly at the beginning, but anyway. Okay. So case error guard is not found error is something, and then otherwise is that. So this is going to be, I can maybe move the pure outside. This is going to be left of not found. That's not how you write a guard. There we go. Find a hole. Otherwise, can't write otherwise in there. That's not how it works. It looks like it. Might be happy with that. Okay. Okay. And right of whatever this will be. The account is right of account. Okay, so now back in here, I can get rid of that. Oh, it's convert error. This is annoying now. It's not an insufficient funds error, it's an account DB error, I think you called it. Then I don't need to do much with it. Well, here I'm lifting it into a session error. Maybe that's not great. But it's no longer this. It's either an account DB.account DB error, or unit. So this would be right of unit. Okay, that wasn't looking for. That one is here. So left of error is pure of left of session error of show of error, except not quite. So what's the type of this? Maybe an account with ledger. Okay, so I can deconstruct a little bit. So I can say if it's left of account of not found, did I import? It's still called account DB. Okay, so it's account DB that not found. So that, what a mess. That is going to be right of nothing. Okay, and then left of error is just the otherwise case here. And it's pure right of nothing. And music, how we do that? Okay, it's one error down. And I've taken the Haskell specific stuff out of account store. Next one. Okay, so list is now supposed to return either an account DB error or that. So this is a little bit simpler, I hope. It might become a helper. So this is the kind of map left thing. It'll be case res of, I should be clear of that. Case res of left error is left of session error of error, and then right of whatever this thing is. Is the account, is that right? That's right of the, is that the accounts? And it says that, so it's, what's the type of res? It's either session error or any. Doesn't seem quite right. So the type of session run. Oh, it's got a connection. I was wondering why it was telling me that it was a type IO when I tried to run the action, but it's because I was missing an argument. Okay, next one. Roughly the same thing. So result is that, and then we can say pure of case of result of left error is left of session error of error, and then right of unit in this case is just right of unit. More. Okay, so deposit a couple of times. Right. So if I can float the pure outside here. Can I? No, I can't. Okay, try this again. If no rows were affected, then it's not nothing, but this is, we're going to say insufficient funds. No, this is not the insufficient funds case. This is pure of right of unit. And then this condemn is pure of left of insufficient funds. Getting closer. Okay. So we run this. I'm going to get a result back. And this result, what we're missing. So it's, the result is going to be either account to be error. Okay, so this is going to be, if we run tx and we get an error back, it's going to be a session error, the Haskell session error. Then this is our straightforward mapping. So this is pure of left of my session error of the error. And if it's right, which means the transaction ran okay, Haskell ran okay, but we're now going to look at the error that came back from there. So it's left of insufficient funds. In fact, left of any error is going to be pure of left of that error. And if it's right, but of right of unit, that's pure of right of unit. Okay, next error. That's just a warning. Next. Okay, back to the spec. So now, when we run accounts db.deposit, it should now be left of insufficient funds. Cool. That's what the whole thing was about. That's where I wanted to get to with this, which is nice. And then the other ones, it's not right of nothing. It should be right of unit again. And this should be right of unit. And there are no more compiler errors, apparently. So let's run the tests again. They work. We must be good. Nothing could possibly go wrong. And do this. I just jump back here. We have some stuff, so I should be unable to withdraw 150 monies. Cool. It's not a session error of insufficient funds. It's not really a session error. Might need to go and fix that a little bit and fix this return code. But if I try and withdraw 50 monies, it works. Okay, cool. That's where I wanted to get to, I think. So I now have a deposit and a withdraw endpoint, and you cannot go overdrawn when you withdraw, or when you try and withdraw, which is good. And the transaction unwinds properly, and the types are a little bit better. Are they better? I kind of like that it tells you it's insufficient funds, because that's what you really care about. But maybe some of the handling of that in the API isn't quite right, and maybe some of the types are slightly misnamed or the constructors are wrong. Either way, it's getting there. Cool. So we got accounts, they got ledger entries, you can withdraw and deposit money. I'm going to call it a night at that point. Only 10 minutes over, it's not too bad. Stop at this point, and then next time out, what I'm going to do next time out, I'll decide closer to the time. I might start looking at linking accounts to users, but I also might not. Who knows? Might just do some more tidy up. I'll wait and see. Cool, thanks for watching along. I think next week is normal, but Eastern time, most of the North American time, should be back in sync. So daylight savings will have kicked in, so the times will change again for you, but back to where they should have been before. But yeah, hopefully see you next week. Goodbye.